Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all tonight. We are on the other half of the world. We are in Egypt, so that's a few hours ahead. My name is Dr. Sara Elzarka, and I will be your host for the next 2 hours. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Dean of the International Transport and Logistics Institute for Postgraduate Studies at the Arab Academy for Science, Technology, and Maritime Transport in Egypt. The Academy is one of the most popular universities in the Middle East and Africa, and we were established back in the 1970s, and this year we are celebrating 50 years. It's our anniversary, and we're very proud to be part of the educational community in Egypt and the Middle East. The Academy has been involved in so many activities regionally and locally in sustainability, either through different educational programs, through different events. The Egyptian government takes very serious steps towards sustainability through an initiative that's called in Arabic تحضر للأخضر, and that's prepared to be green. And through the different ministries, there are lots of initiatives, lots of activities to raise awareness among all the stakeholders about the importance of being green and understand very well what are their practices of sustainable logistics and supply chain in the business community. So today I'm very honored to have my guests, my colleagues, who will be joining me for the next 2 hours. And we will be going over different topics in sustainability, specifically in the business sector. And we can start with Captain Aly Assem, who is the General for Said Port in Egypt, and he will be giving us a presentation on the sustainable port practices.
Thank you, Dr. Sara, for this introduction. Thanks again for hosting me in this presentation, and thanks for everyone for your time. I know we're in a special occasion all over the world, probably for Christians, for Muslims. We have just finished having iftar in Ramadan, and I believe it's probably maybe the first time for me to have a presentation in this time. But thanks, Dr. Sara, for this opportunity to talk about this special location in Port Said. Probably we are in the heart of the world. I know we are talking for people coming from the Pacific, probably to the Atlantic. So thanks everyone for your time. Just allow me for sharing my presentation, if that's possible. Well, my agenda is going to be who we are, and because I know when I was in the United States studying there, probably maybe 20 years ago, some people doesn't know much about Egypt and this East. Probably they know just only about the camels, probably, and the desert. So this is how I will start, and where we are in terms of sustainability, and while we are working hard in terms of doing business with a sustainable eye on this three diameters, and where we want to be. So let's go directly where we are, and you know that I'm talking presenting the Suez Canal Economic Zone, and this economic zone is especially in this location surrounding the Suez Canal at the both banks, east and west. We are consist of 4 industrial zones and 6 ports, and this is probably will give us quick numbers. These figures are going to be 20,000 vessels passing through this passage every year. Last year in 2021, and we are expecting that we will reach probably in 2023, probably maybe more than 22,000 vessels. And we are on board these vessels carrying 1.2 billion tons of cargoes passing from the east to the west. Let's talk about, well, the maritime sector is probably carrying 80% of the world trade volumes, transporting via the seaborne trade. And let's talk about one of the busiest waterways is the Suez Canal, accounting for maybe 12,000 of the world shipping traffic. Last year, we were celebrating the 152nd anniversary for the Suez Canal, and we were counting probably above 1.4 million vessels starting from 1869. Port Said, the port which I'm representing now, has a unique geographical position at the north mouth of the Suez Canal, which is really important international navigation linking the east and the west, as I said before. If you are going to look to the photo, you find that this is heavy traffic area at the north of our port. Probably we are talking about maybe vessels, and also since we are talking about environmental issues, especially in the sustainability, we're talking about huge emissions coming out of these vessels. And also, if you look now at the moment, that how traffic are probably really busy at the north and the south of Suez Canal. Let's go back about who we are. Port Said East Port probably starts in 1999 and start operation in 2004. And it was up to 2015, it was just only an area of 1.2 million square meters. And with November 2015, we have started the expansion. And it wasn't just 20% or 30% as usual of an expansion. Now we are expanded to be 32 million square meters of an area of this port. It's not just only a port, it's an integrated zone. And we'll talk about that in a minute. If you see that the port is just only 32 million square meters. And now we are very integrated zone with an industrial area with 3 logistic zones. This is consist of 145 million square meters. It's all under the custody of the Suez Canal Economic Zone. So the thing is, we are not just now talking about an area separately, logistic zones separated to the port, but it's just only an integrated zone, as you can see. So we are part of a country and with a background of an economical value for the Egyptian economy. And these are the potential manufacturers activities is going to be headed in the coming maybe 20 and 30 years ahead. So let's go. Once we start in November 2015, in 75 days only, we are challenging ourselves. We have finished probably one of the most important assets for the port, which is the side channel. We have exploited the 75% of the capacity of the dredgers all over the world when they were doing the business here in the expansion of the new Suez Canal in 2015. And they finished the dredging of the side channel for East Port Said Port to make everything probably more sustainable, thinking about how we can reduce the waiting time for coming or calling East Port Said Port from probably 2015, it was maybe 14 hours to wait for the convoy to go to East Port Said Port. Now we can consider ourselves last year with just only 3 hours and probably less. We are targeted in 2030 to have a waiting time of 0. It's a challenging project, but the doubling of even the channel is going to be very challenging, and we are counting how that is going to be very feasible for us so that we can have the economical positive impact from the expansion in the coming maybe few years. So it's not just only about efficiency, but the efficiency means also less emissions. And this is what we are targeting in East Port Said Port. And it's all linked to huge projects and mega projects all over Egypt now. We are linking East Port Said Port, which is in Sinai Peninsula, to the mainlands. We were really challenging ourselves because the expansion needs lots of resources so that we can make this project very efficient. Let's go back to 2015. The same year we have the announcement of the expansion. We were really having a challenge to connect the East Port to the West Port and the West Bank to the East Bank of the Suez Canal. As you can see, the only mean of transportation between the West and the East, it's just only ferries. So if you're going to look at where we are at the moment, you will find ourselves that with the challenging really with the ambitions we are having and the political will we are having now in Egypt. Now we have 17 alternative for connectivity. As you can see, we have 3 tunnels under the Suez Canal, and we have 5 floating bridges. And in addition to that, we have 7 ferries, and we are waiting probably to have also the connectivity for the railways with the Salam Bridge, the Ferdinand Bridge, and Salam Bridge is going to be open within a few days now. So we have 17 alternatives. We are thinking with the business continuity concept and the sustainable concept, which is going to reduce also the emissions for everything, and also will have the impact of the economical issues, which is going to be coming with this mega project of the Suez Canal Economic Zone. These are real live photos for what we are having now at the moment. the tunnels underneath the canal, and also Salam Bridge and Al Firdan Bridge under now the trials. And very soon we will have this multimodal transport between the Sinai Peninsula and also the mainland. We have started also in 2017 looking to the European continent and the port. We were also targeting to join the European Seaport Organization, and we have reached that they have really some good points we have to look forward to do it. We have the criteria of going green, and we are rearranging just only the priorities. We have started with not only the air pollution and the water pollution and the noise and that stuff. This is the regular thinking to go green. We have started with our people. So our people are the main asset we are having in the port. So are really keen to educate them so that they can think and have the methodology of thinking with the priority of going green. So this is the main criteria we are prioritizing now at the moment in this strategy. Let's go to the projects we are having now at the moment with going through the expansions. Now we have finished with the different entities, probably international entities. We are having lots of mega companies coming to invest in East Port Said Port. We are all talking with them with a green concept, and they're appreciating that. All our concession agreements now prioritizing going green. So if we are talking with the companies coming from Japan, coming from France, coming from Denmark, like Maersk, A.P. Moller, we are always talking with the same language now of everything is going green. Ecoslop's one of the French companies now. We are also targeting to have maritime services, which is going also to add value for collecting waste. And this is going to be used also for a strategy we are starting from this year to go green with the green hydrogen, using this asset and being ready for going green with this type of bunkering also for the vessels. We know that there's just only a couple of vessels in Japan now under trial for using the green hydrogen. However, we know that probably maybe in 10, 15 years, we will have lots of vessels passing through the Suez Canal, and we need to get ready for that. Well, the efficiency took us to handle 3.7 million TEUs last year. And if you think about maybe it's not a huge figure for some people coming from the maritime background or the ports, but if you are thinking that East Port Said Port is one of the ports which is handling probably maybe 48% of the handle volumes in all over the Egyptian ports. So this is something really huge, and exploiting the strategic location, as I said in the beginning, and also thinking about the efficiency. So it's a port of call, and everybody is choosing to call East Port Said Port because of the efficiency. And this is something, if you are thinking about going back and how this area was just only a muddy land and a few lakes, now it's one of the best and efficient ports in the Egyptian territories. Also, we're thinking about the expansion. So all the new quay walls in the port now are ready for providing shore power, so that you can have all the vessels calling East Port Said Port. They will have the shore connection, so that they can reduce the emissions and the carbon footprint for the port. In addition to that, they will also have the privilege to deliver what they have from sewage water or the ballast water as well. So all the new quay walls are ready for that. Thinking about also the air quality monitoring systems, and it's not going to use using power, just only using how much we are gifted in this location with the sun all over Egypt, probably maybe over the 365 days. So we'll use also green energy to power all these air quality monitors as well. So let's go back also for efficiency. Today in the morning, I was having a meeting so that we can have state-of-the-art gates with seconds of waiting time to go into the port and going out of the port as well. So it's something we're really keen about, to have this also with an average waiting time of probably maybe near to be zero now for the car trucks waiting, and so going also to use the smartest technologies so that they can go directly to the port and without any idle time. Let's talk about the bunkering, because the location is talking with how to exploit the location for vessels. As I told you, 20,000 ships passing through, and now we have the gas in the Egyptian economic part of our sea now. So we're not going to import the gas. So we need also to think about how we can bunker the vessels with the LNG. And we're talking with one of the biggest companies all over the world to come to have a station for bunkering these vessels. The oil spill and the emergency, we are always keen because we are having all these volumes of vessels to be ready for any type of oil spill response with a very agile response for that. This is something we call benchmarking, as probably knows. We have a benchmark for Port of Koper, which is in Slovenia. This port got the Green Port Prize for a couple of times in European Seaport Organization. And we know that it was handling coal. Everybody is avoiding to handle coal because of the environmental impact of that. However, we have the challenge to choose Port of Koper to be one of the models we are following, and we have a good communication with them. So everybody here in the Egyptian ports using our Egyptian law, which we believe in the East Borsait port, that we are a very unique and very new port, and we have to go more and more and dream with the best of the world, probably, which is Koper Port. So now we have the WHO as probably the theory of using for these measures for the air quality system. And also better from that is the European Environment Agency and the United States National Ambient Air Quality Standards. But probably the best of the best is Koper Port. So this is how we are targeting to be the best of the best here in the Egyptian ports. Now we are with the monitors of dust level. We are always monitoring, and also we are handling probably last year 32% of the exports of the cement of the Egyptian factories, but also we are the greenest port in the Egyptian ports now. So we are using lots of ways so that they can reduce the dust in the port, and these are photos from life. Digitalization is one of the most important also assets. We are now having the best probably infrastructure to go digital, go smart, so that they can use the smartest technology all over the world with an e-document program to reduce also the environmental impact of the port as well. Well, in March 22, last month, we have issued a bundle of incentives for all the trucks and cars using the green energy. So probably we are having the initiative also to follow up the regulations, which is issued from the International Maritime Organization this month for targeting energy efficiency design index. And it's formulated for the new vessels. And we are really following that so that they can have the least CO2 emissions and CO in the port as well, and to evaluate the environmental cost divided by the impact for the society. Going green. Egypt today, and probably maybe every day now, we will find that in the newspapers, we are having an eye on the green economy, and the government of Egypt has allocated an areas for producing green hydrogen in the Suez Canal economic zone, and part of that is East Borsait. And this is matching with our strategy to go longer with what we are really targeting in this area, as I told you in the beginning, to have the production of the green hydrogen, and it is going to be located in this area. So once we will have the volume of vessels power driven by the green hydrogen, we will have this cargo and this energy here in East Borsait to bunker the vessels here as well. So this is one of the strategy we are targeting, probably maybe in 15 years time, maybe more, maybe less, but I believe with what's going on here also with the Russian and the Ukrainian conflicts, I believe that everybody's now is reviewing their strategies to go green. So this is something really important, not only about the vessels, we are also talking about the port equipment, and we are having lots of dialogues with the European continent and European ports, and they are having also very ambitious program for going green. It's still very expensive. Last meeting with Valencia port and with Salonique port, they were having a challenge because the 1 kilogram of the green hydrogen was going to cost maybe between 8 to 10 euros, which is not really economic in terms of using it in the equipment and port equipment. But we believe that what we are doing now with our partners here in Egypt, we are targeting to go lower than probably maybe 3 to 4 euros only. And I believe maybe we can do that with less than that as well. So let's talk about also how we are really targeted to go green. As I told you in the beginning, we have 3 logistics zones surrounding East Port Port, and we have finished with the EIB, European Investment Bank, with the close cooperation with them, the first feasibility study for having a green value-add logistics center. Probably is going to be unique in this area, I mean, not only in Egypt, but also in the Middle East. So it's really very ambitious project as well. And it's really feasible to have something like that. And it's very attractive and unique for companies who are really keen to go environmentally friendly with using the solar power, which is really, we are with here in Egypt. How we are marketing with a sustainable concept as well. Let's talk about everybody maybe thinking about how they are reducing the logistics cost, but we are talking with the Chinese factories to call them to come and invest in the Suez Canal economic zone so that they can have least impact for environment and least supply chain susceptibility for the crises, which is going on now for maybe more than a couple of years now since the COVID-19 impact, and also now as well. So if you are going to go to the markets of Europe, for instance, you need just only maybe a couple of days or 3 days only to go to these markets. So we are really marketing also with the sustainable concept, and there is a very attractive calling for that for people are really keen to go green. So let's think about also the bigger picture for the Suez Canal. You know that we have finished a mega project in 2015 for doubling the Suez Canal at the northern part, but now with also trying to make more solutions for going sustainable. You know that this project allowed people not to go surrounding the Cape Horn or Cape Town from the south, but now we are also making a new expansion. We will finish it in June, end of June 2023, and which is going to make also improving in the ship navigation by 28%, which is going to make it's an investment of $191 million. So this is also it's going to maybe make a good positive impact for the supply chain crisis we are now suffering from all over the world. These are some figures which is going to give you a million of words if you are thinking about with the crisis having last March for Ever Given. You'll find everybody was calculating how much that will cost and how much the impact of the emissions for vessels coming from the other direction from south of the African continent to the same port. Think about also coming from Taiwan to Rotterdam, for instance, the main port or the first port of Europe. You'll find that there is a reduction of maybe 9 days or more or less for vessels to come from the Suez Canal. So it's really important to think about the sustainability for one of the what we call it the most sustainable project probably in the 19th century and 20th century as well. The people, as I told you, we are preparing ourselves for one of the main events in this year, which is COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. So we are getting ready for that with not just only with the projects, but with our people as well. So this is really important. Think about some maybe very negative photos we have seen last year in different countries, Algeria and Europe, Belgium, and probably in Germany. So we need to keep an eye with our business, especially the maritime business, on these photos so that we can make the life much better for everyone. Thank you for your time. And I hope that I'm within my 20 minutes, probably less or so. So I'm all yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Captain Ali, for your very informative and very dense presentation and for giving us this overview on the sustainable port practices. Actually, transportation, as we all know, is one of the most important activities in the supply chain and the highest in terms of pollution that impacts negative way. So it's very interesting to see different initiatives were taken. One of the best actually Egyptian ports that we believe that you will be a benchmark for other Egyptian ports that should follow your steps to become more sustainable. So thank you very much, Captain Ali, for your presentation.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. We can move on to Engineer Sherif El Agamy, who is the executive board member of Egypt, and he will be giving us a presentation on sustainable supply chain practices in FMCGs.
Thank you very much, Professor Sara, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So if you allow me to share my screen. So very well done, Captain Ali. Pleasure to see your presentation. And we'll share my presentation. Thank you very much. So we'll take you through the cycle of the sustainable supply chain, or now it's value chain. So the supply chain in the FMCGs, it's extremely important, and that has been very visible during the crisis that we have seen during the COVID, as well as the war between Russia and Ukraine. So now the supply chain, one of the fundamentals, not only in the FMCG and everywhere. So a lot of work has been taking place in the FMCGs regarding the raw materials, the importation, and even exportation, wherever the raw material exists. And this is now, it's very competitive, and it's a bottleneck currently for raw materials. And nowadays, so we are working on how to localize or how to change the shipping lines, because some of the raw materials coming from Russia, and some from Ukraine in a specific, and the rest of the other world. So building on what been mentioned by Captain Ali, so these routes and these regulations been getting much easier for us before COVID and before this time to have something. However, the bad luck or the situation been raised by COVID and by the war between Ukraine and Russia get somehow high problems, as well as the cost is getting very, very high for that, and that is making some market disturbance, not only in Egypt, in everywhere. So all the world is having problems. Regarding that, the regional deposit management and intelligent production solutions start to appear. So that is taking place currently, as well production of the environment product and the footprint. So this is another angle. So we have two angles. One angle is the environmental care, which is renewable energy in terms of water usage, in terms of all this environmental impact, and even lowering the waste and the recycle impact that will come to it in a short term in the coming presentations. On the other hand is digitalization and the new era of automation. So all this is these parts taking place to have sustainable supply chain at the end. Then the logistics part, which is extremely important, and the era of the supply chain and the logistics and the automated or smart warehouses is actually taking very much place to the just-in-time methodology that is now even changing according to the situation. Somehow it's a challenge currently to achieve that with the new regulation and legalization in multiple countries and advanced countries that having regulation for the environment and having fines if you are not accommodating with the regulations that we have. As well, Egypt is taking good steps in that era of influencing companies to have regulation regarding the environmental impact. This is sample of the strategy in some of multinational companies. This is extracted from Henkel side. As well, I have worked in Shell, Henkel, and Unilever. So to have a strategy for a sustainable supply chain, actually having these pillars, it's built upon these pillars. More or less, it's different ways of context. However, at the end, it's having the same meaning with different directions to achieve the goals. So optimization of total performance regarding cost, inventories, and services, and then the design and the implementation and extended of adaptation to the supply chain, built on smart technologies, which is automation and digitalization, using the era of the blockchain, etc., etc., etc. That will touch base on it in the presentation, and how to have the proper and right organizational setup. And this is very important now, as there is new restructuring for the organization. What will be having people, what will have robots, what will have automated systems. So in the coming 5 to 10 years, I think I see a lot of things will be changed regarding the new era that's taking place currently. So before going to the practices that we're already doing, so as we know, the risks is about repetition for the companies, that brand damages, losses, value of investment, brand values, potential liability, and credit and performance risks. And actually, this is coming as well, not only because of Ukraine and Russia and the COVID before, but because of the balance of the world of the China innovation, etc., and some investment and somehow many of copying paste or innovations coming from China and another era of Europe. So this is getting somehow a challenging situation of the cost and the quality and the service level. So this is somehow different models between the nations that leading the innovation, which is getting all the companies in this challenge regarding from the raw materials till the finished good product. Then the opportunities came, which is brand differentiation, understanding of materiality, revenues, and new products, attracting, retaining talents in the companies, building in firm knowledge and competences. And coming after that in the cycle of having the value for the stakeholders. And this is the end game that is truly, I see all the multinationals or all the big companies having a big shake in this sport or a challenge in this sport, as there is a lot of variables happening, and regarding the regulation, regarding the challenge between the innovations from China and Europe, as well as the market dynamics is being changed because of COVID. So really a lot of aspects and a lot of challenges that taking place on that matter. On the other hand, all the companies now checking the way how to treat the environmental waste and how to have resources for renewable or sustainable resources for packaging and raw materials. Regarding the packaging, so it's a lot of ways like combustible packaging, recycling packaging, corrugated packaging, and the rest, as you see here on the screen. So all that now we have a deal with Plastic Bank in Egypt, and this is having a proper attention from Henkel and from other multinationals that we need to maximize the benefit of recycling. As well, there is a big factory start as a startup in the beginning, which is Bariq. This factory is doing recycling and for plastic waste and having it as a preform with a food grade. And it's now is doing another extension for the plant, and another plant is under construction as well. So there is proper attention, proper focus from the government, even for enhancing and focusing about waste management, and which is truly needed because we do have waste, a lot of projects regarding even usage of tires of recycling to have some ground floors from the recycled tires. So a lot of innovations happening from the recycled water and even recycled hard waste and there is a lot of investment in the country for how to recycle the waste, how to reuse the waste. As well as there is a lot of projects regarding the energy. So the energy here, and what I mean by that, a lot of things. We started by the PV panels, which is solar cells, and we are currently, as we speak, installing the PV panels in the plant that I have. And there is a lot of projects and a lot of companies in Egypt doing the PV panels and the investment in the solar cells. On the other hand, a lot of projects as well, taking the biomass, which is wood agriculture or organic waste, and this is the program that we are working, biogas from renewable natural gases from the wastewater. So as well, currently I'm installing a big wastewater or effluent treatment unit in the plant with a capex of 1.3 million euro to having to the wastewater treatment, as well as we adding to it biogas to generate biogas from it. The plans now and the focus is how to be zero carbon or zero CO2 emissions in the plant, and this is one of the top agendas in Henkel, and there is true attention for that and true investments on that field. Hydrogen from renewable electricity, and this is, as you see here on your left side, true zero CO2. It's truly game changer in the companies that we focusing about the environment, and it's a true treasure that we have, that we need to focus on it to do not lose the coming generation that they will suffer from having bad weather at the end. As we see already, the weather being changed a lot. So even in some countries, I know in Germany, there was a big temperature differences, and a lot of the rest of the world, as well in Egypt, we saw a very big differences in weather temperatures and humidity. Other alternatives like switch to electrical heating, solar thermal systems, and geothermal energy. So all that is under study, but the current thing that we are working on it, the biogas of wastewater, as well as the PV panels, and some innovation, small innovations in the middle, to focusing on how to reduce the energy to zero. I mean the CO2 emissions from the energy to zero, and how to maximize the energy usage from the renewable energy. Moving to logistics, so actually the green logistics is the focus. Consideration of sustainability and applying friendly policies in logistic decisions, balance economical benefits with environmental impact, and as well as having activities of material flowing to the customer, so that will help. It's extremely important, all of us agreeing that will help. Moving to some practices that we already investigating. So rail transportation now, there is some rail investments in Egypt, it's massive. And there is now, currently, we are checking the agreements, how we can transport our products with rail. So we are checking now the agreements once it's up running on the ground. On the other hand, it's direct shipping concept, which is having a minimum stock order in terms of finished good and direct dispatch to the our customers, even general trade or modern trade or export. So this is one of the things that we are focusing and succeeding big portion on that. As well as the wide or long trucks concept, which is helping us to transport maximum load, which is legalized and is approved. That will help us to reduce our carbon footprint, because this is in our agenda, in our glide path. There is a lot of other initiatives, which is, as for example, it's double-decker to have the load doubled in the truck, as well. That is to reduce the load on the road itself, as well as to reduce the carbon footprint. This is the big game changer, in my opinion, the backhauling concept. The backhauling concept is most of the trucks in many countries that dispatching the goods to point A to point B and then return to point A empty truck. Some countries having the initiative of like Uberization of trucks, but it's not a pure Uberization, because it's that the truck, when it's moving from point A to point B to be to have the load, and then it's been tendered or put in a tender, that the people start to ask to book this truck in the way back from point B to point A. So this is under consideration. A lot of aspects here. For example, kind of truck, kind of goods shipped, the smell of the good, is it wet or dry? A lot of things to book the truck back. Once that is materialized and been activated on the ground, that will be extremely big game changer that will move to sustainability, like will halve the carbon footprint, for example. On the other hand, it will help us on reducing cost extremely in a big portion. And then truck portion, so the truck to be heavy portions, and this is specifically for utilization and sustainability, as well as for quality services of delivering goods in a proper manner. We'll leave you for 2 minutes with this video to show you what Henkel is doing regarding the sustainability, but from the other angle, which is digitalization and automation.
Hello, it's me, your laundry bottle. In this episode, we will unleash how our digital technologies have changed my life. Let's have a look. Henkel is creating an end-to-end digital twin of our supply chain, which is fully transparent, agile, and data-driven. Here, algorithms sense the demand and immediately adjust the supply network and replenish what is needed to replicate me. When my friends and I arrive at our facility, we get shaped, filled, sealed, dressed up for the big photo shoot, and are constantly monitored by cutting-edge sensors and cameras. No single attribute is left to chance. I was very excited when Henkel decided to give me a new tattoo, which you can now scan to learn everything about me and my life cycle. The coolest part is when I move on automated vehicles who know where to go after picking me up. My creators base their decision on data being available globally, powered by algorithms and IoT devices. This rapid digital transformation has given Henkel a competitive edge through innovation and a future-ready operating model. In the key areas of laundry and home care supply chain, digitalization enabled significant improvements in service, cost, cash, and agility, all while exceeding world-class sustainability targets since 2005. Since we have started our path on digital transformation, we have enhanced supply chain resilience and readiness for future challenges. Digitalization is allowing us to focus on our priorities, the best product, and creating value for our customers and consumers.
So that value show how Henkel is focusing as a lot of multinational companies, but we are somehow in the lead in terms of digitalization and automation regarding focusing on how to maximize the benefit of the accuracy of data and the efficiency of the data transfer as well. So, for example, the plants is connected with digital applications, and it's with what's name is backbone, which is delivering or transferring all the data real time to the headquarters in Düsseldorf to be real time appearing, and even taking decisions for the machines, for equipments, and even having proper monitoring and transparency of sharing data. This is a key enabler for the coming era to which is already, we are in the coming era, so we are existing now after the COVID. So the COVID helped or was one of the enforcement for the having rapid change in digitalization and automation in the plant. So as you see now, even the AVRs or the automated vehicles inside the plant in the warehouses, we have already started that. The cobots or robots on the lines, so all that is existing. Moving to very interesting part, that is very, very special part that I like. I was a part of the people shared or initiating Henkel strategy or Henkel way till 2030. So this is a way that most of the companies focusing on. That was a workshop between ISCEA or Navarra University in Spain, and this is with supporting of sub-programs with Harvard as well, that showing a lot of phenomena that is already appearing, like quantum computers, like new era in logistics, flying goods and people, recycling robots, a lot of things. I'm just giving examples that is already taking place currently, and some pilot models started to happen. So that's how the companies will exist. So that was the quadrant of the digital value chain and the industry. There is a lot of quadrants, which is talking about the commercial, the marketing, the finance. So how it will look like and what will be the challenges. So actually, it's very interesting to see a lot of things regarding the blockchain, like the Industry 4.0. So this is circular economy, how that will be integrated and what will be the focus of investing to have a sustainable model of the supply chain. Maybe the time is not will allow me for all of that, but just I give you a glimpse about this or example. So this is not the true strategy. This is just the example, how it look like and how we can formulate things from it. So if we find innovation manufacturing, you find cloud computing, cloud storage, big data, AI, machine learning, intelligent application, etc., etc., etc. This is in innovation manufacturing. If you find future readiness operating models, you will find relevance of low wages, maritime robots, flying industry robots, AI robots. And this is in terms of robots. For logistics, you will find flying goods and people, new era in logistics. Even sometimes they return to see what will happen in past, like the zip lining, and return, is it possible to use the zip lining and the drones for sure, as well as 3D printing. For sustainability, rapid recycling, floating food and energy, clean tech. So all that is the under study and under focus, how to use it, how to focus on it, how to invest. It will be incremental investment or like focusing on aggressive investment, let me say. So that is at the end, it's showing like quadrants and how we'll have the proper mix and match between these phenomena or this radar, that is called radar chart that was in the workshop. So but at the end, this is phenomena, and there is a lot of innovation coming on these parts for sure that will change our life, and even how that will change the work. If you remember the first slide, it will be it's again the organization and talent pool that we have inside our companies. So what will be the shape of the talents on the time? What will be the knowledge of this talent as well? What will be the departments will exist and what will be the department will not exist anymore? Or what will be the department will be added regarding the digitalization and automation. So by that, I would like to thank you very much and ready to have any questions. Thank you. Hope that is useful and adding some values to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. Actually, I would like to ask you for your opinion on an issue that I always get questions on. Every time that we talk about sustainability, about the green practices of the supply chain, how important it is if you want to take part in the global market, as sustainability now is an essential criteria if you want to make business anywhere in the world. So many people would say, well, multinational companies, they find it easier to be more sustainable. They have access to funds, they have access to technology, but the local companies, they don't have such privilege. So what would be your advice to the local companies? What are the steps that could be taken that would allow them by time to be more sustainable and to be engaged in the global market more efficiently?
Very good question. Thank you very much for it. So, yes, for sure, there is a focus and some regulations supporting the multinational to have that on the ground. But at the end, the small companies or medium to small companies, they need to focus about the behavior first. So this is zero cost. So the behavior of usage of energy, the behavior of usage of water, that we're very familiar of the misuse. Until now, we are, if you shut down a line or something, you will find the line is still operating while you shut down the plant. Sometimes you see some people misuse, even in the mixing part, the water usages. They threw the water on the land. So all that is behavior. If they focus on having some meters measuring that, they will find they threw a lot of money on the ground, and they threw hell of CO2 in the air. For sure, they pay for it, but at the end, behavior is very important. This is number one. Number two, there is small innovation or small steps like, let me say that the compressors links together with valuable speed drive. It's not very expensive, and it can help of reducing and having maturity of operating the compressors together. A lot of aspects we can speak till tomorrow for it, but a lot of steps which is not spending a lot of money in it. However, it's big game, as well as like the water usage, even in the changing the node of the water and having a combination between air and the water itself. So first, behavior and small investments, which is like 100,000 Egyptian pounds. It's not big, but that will generate ROI like in 3-4 years or maybe 2 years.
That's very good. Another issue is that that I get every time when I teach my postgraduate students. They every time that I teach a topic about sustainability, they get very convinced, they get very interested, and they really believe in the value of being sustainable. But then they say, well, if the top management is not convinced, so we will do anything. So what or how can we convince top managers to look at sustainability from a different way? We know top management always think in terms of profits. We want to make more money, we want to have more market share, but what would be the best way to convince top management to be engaged in the sustainability issue?
So the answer would be shocking somehow, but I saw that in Unilever, in Shell, in Henkel, and even automotive, in the automotive field. This is coming by regulations, so it's coming by law. So now there is a fine in European countries if they use plastic by certain percent, and I think there is some audience from, I don't know, from Europe or not, or from US only, but they have the same regulation in their countries. So this is coming by regulation. So the regulation is, we will put fine on the company if they use certain percentage without recycling, blah, 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 blah. So if they don't use something like that, they will facing money or cash, they will be requested, and it will be high taxation for their products. On that matter, so this works very, very, very good. Other side, that the recycling, for like example, like the solar cells, when you applying the PV panels, if you will have from it return on investment within 2 years, maximum 3 years, for sure go for it. So the top management will go for it for sure. But if it is like 5 to 10 years, I think that will be reluctant without any law or regulation.
So we will shift to the government then. So we will have to go more to the authorities that would enforce the law and ask, or let's say they would push the business sector to be more green, so that to ensure that everyone is engaged in the same path?
This is, yes, Dr. Sara, but at the end, if the recycling part is really working in terms of financial, like recycling, like PV panels, whatever, and it will pay back. This is accordingly, we see that increasing the energy, increasing the wastage. So in that manner, it will pay back. So on that matter, the top management, for sure, they will be convinced.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you very much.
It was really an honor to have you today.
Pleasure.
Now we will move on to Dr. Hossam Twfik. He's the procurement and contracts professional consultant. And of course, we all understand how procurement is the key activity, or let's say the start ignition of the whole sustainable supply chain. You have to start with sustainable suppliers, sustainable materials, so that you would complete the whole cycle to be sustainable. So he will be giving us a presentation on sustainable procurement.
Thank you, Dr. Sara. I'm very thrilled and delighted to be here with you for this exceptional day. Thank you, Captain Ali and Engineer Sherif, for your interesting presentations. Fortunately, Dr. Sara, some of your questions to Engineer Sherif about what will be encouraging the top management, I will give you some glimpse about it. Why now it's mandatory by legislations to follow some sustainable practice. I will be emphasizing on this point. Let me just share with you my presentation. My today's presentation will cover, just a second. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay. My today's presentation will cover some points. It will be very slim. I will try to be much more focused on the key messages we need to deliver. But before, we need to understand the history of sustainable development. After understanding the history of sustainable development story from MDGs and SDGs, we are going to shift it to our business and focus it in more detail about procurement. We will try to explain what are the sustainable practice in the supply chain, and then the ethical sourcing and responsible procurement, and finally what will be the consequences of not being responsible, and what kind of application, what kind of strategy we should follow in order to be sustainable procurement. First of all, now the sustainable development word is very famous. It's a very attractive. It's a very repetitive word in every single business meeting, in any business, political, even event. We are going to hear sustainable development. So let's start defining what is sustainable development. According to the UN definition, sustainable development that we need to meet the needs and the aspiration of the current generation, but without compromising the ability to meet those of future generations. So we need to think more about the future generations. So, okay, after the World War II and the mass destruction happened in Europe, and it was very big sign and a red flag that the world need to be united into securing a bright future for the next generations. By end of 1990s, around 190 sovereign states agreed to develop some Millennium Development Goals, some 8 goals, some sustainable development goals to be achieved by 2015. Unfortunately, the results or the achievement was not up to the expected level. That's why we, by 2015, 2016, the United Nations again tried one more time, but with a lot of support in order to achieve this missed goal while enriching them to sustainable development goals. So for the Millennium Development Goals, which have been set up by 2000, was focusing on eight goals. The first goal was reduction of extreme poverty and hunger, achieving universal primary education, promoting gender equality, reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat some diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, and the most important one, develop a global partnership for development. This 8th goal of the MDG still remains the number 17 in SDG. As I told before, unfortunately, the results of MDG was not that satisfying. Only some improvement was made in some goals. For example, in the 6 goals of combating some diseases, yes, the world succeeded to decrease significantly the HIV infection rate and the malaria. Regarding the reduction of extreme poverty and hunger, yes, the world succeeded, but in order to have support the developing nation reducing the extreme poverty and hunger. And for the goal number 8, the 8th goal about developing partnership for or ensuring partnership for development, the United Nations, the agreed countries succeeded to raise around 1 billion, which is still not enough, but it was 66% much more increase before that collected money for development by the year 2000. By 2015, the United Nations, around 192 or plus sovereign nation, agreed to develop, to try once more and to develop 17 development goals. All the countries, all the 992 countries voluntarily agreed to comply with these goals. That's why that gives you, Dr. Sara, some part of your answers in the Sherif answer about mandating these practices by law, because now most countries are committed to achieve such kind of goals because they have signed a treaty in the UN complying with these 17 goals. Okay, these 17 goals more or less covering the 7 goals of SDG, of MDG, sorry, but enriching to include other areas. If we are going to just try to summarize these 17 development goals, we can summarize it into under 5 P's. The 5 P's was the peace, prosperity, people, planet, and profit. Okay, so all of these 17 goals could be mapped to under one of these 5 P's. Okay, this very short introduction about the history of the sustainable development and the commitment from almost every single nation on the earth to reach this kind of targets by 2030 just gives us how important is the complying and shifting our practices to be sustainable. Okay, let's focus on the kind of part on the business side, so we can put the partnership and peace apart for the coming few minutes, and let's focus on the people, profit, and the planet. This triple B concept was advised by John Ellington, who tried to formulate what we call triple bottom line. Instead of focusing on one bottom line, which is a net profit, which we used to focus on, John Ellington invented or devised a new concept, which triple bottom line, that we need to focus on people, planet, and the profit. It's not enough for every single country, every single company to focus on its prosperity through economic development. We need to focus again. We need to focus also on people, the social impact of our economic growth, and the environmental impact of our environmental growth. That's why we now is trying to focus on triple P, profit. This is the usual target of our businesses, but we need to include side by side with the profit, the people and planet, social and environmental. Okay, so every single function inside the company should be focusing on this triple P. We need to shift our focus from the single bottom line, which is the profit, net profit, in order to include the people and the planet. The company needs to be a good citizen. That's why the term CSR, corporate social responsibility, have been coined a lot during the last 20 years. If we are trying to divide this responsibility of the corporate into each single team responsibility, here we can extract what the term sustainable procurement. So if we are going to define what is sustainable procurement is a process whereby organization need for goods, service, works, or whatever, in a way that achieve value for money. This is the normal target for the procurement, but we need also to focus on society and the economy while minimizing the damage to the environment. So again, if we are going to focus on being social responsible corporate, the procurement need to shift its focus from solely focus on value for money, but to include also the care about the society and the environment. Okay, Engineer Sherif gratefully shared with us some of the sustainable practices done in the supply chain, starting from evaluating suppliers to ensure their full compliance to the environmental standards, monitoring the suppliers' performance in the social arena, ensuring the compliance of our organization and our suppliers to the ILO, the International Labour Organization's decrees, and the local or national social laws, considering triple bottom line as a way of reporting suppliers organizations. We need to focus on specifications about specifying our needs. We are trying to focus on procuring what is just required. We are trying to focus on reducing the waste. So a lot of practices could be seen now as a sustainable practice in supply chain. But if we are going to shift our focus on, particularly in procurement, we need to spot the light on what we call ethical sourcing. Ethical sourcing, we need to ensure that all of our sourced products are fully compliant with the social standards and the environmental standards. Okay, so we need to be responsible persons. We need to be responsible procurement professionals. We need to be responsible sourcing experts. So we need to ensure that all of our sourced material are done with full compliance to the highest standard in the social and societal laws and international decrees. And we need to ensure that all the sourced material and services are eco-green and environmental friendly. Okay, so the most important aspect of our discussion today, as a procurement professional, what should I do? What should I do in order to ensure sourcing ethically, sourcing responsibly, and ensure a sustainable procurement? Let's go step by step with the procurement cycle. From early beginning, as a procurement professional, we need to ensure that we are dealing with the right supplier. So during the pre-qualification stage, we need to do some deep, thorough pre-qualification, what we call due diligence. Not just review some documentation and make some desk assessment. We need to invest a lot of time and money to ensure that we are fully understand our supplier and his supply chain, that are fully compliant with the social and environmental aspects. So the first step starts with the pre-qualification stage. Second, during the specifying our requirements, we need to ensure that our specifications already include the social and environmental parts and aspects. For example, if we are going to ask or initiate a procurement cycle to hire some service company to run some catering or some security service for our company, we need to ensure that they are fully aware of the social laws in our country. They are fully compliant with the International Labour Organization decrees. We need to get their commitment to offer the full safety for health and safety equipment gear for their staff. So we need to ensure that the integration of our social and environmental requirement side by side to our technical and legal requirements. So the second step in being responsible procurement professional is to encourage our internal colleagues, our internal stakeholders to include in the specification stage the environmental and social aspects into our need. Third one, we need to assign significant weight to the aspect of environmental and social part in evaluating our suppliers' proposed tenders or bids. Usually we are focusing on the commercial and technical aspects, but nowadays we need to ensure that side by side to technical and commercial, we need to ensure that there is a significant weight assigned to the environmental and the social aspect before awarding our business or before signing the contract with awarded supplier. So starting from pre-qualification, second, focusing on including the environmental and social aspects side by side to technical and legal requirement in our specification. Third one is to assign a significant weight to the environmental and the technical and the social aspects in evaluating bids and tenders received from potential partners before awarding the business and select the right one. After selecting the right supplier or the awarded supplier, we need to mandate the full compliance to our social and environmental requirement. We need to mandate the full compliance of our supplier to the International Labour Organization and local or national labor organization and environmental organization inside our formal contract. And the contract, which means legally binding agreement. So we need to put a legal contractual obligation on supplier to full adhere to our and national and international labor and environmental aspects. The last major step, we need to check the supplier performance. We need to run regular announced and unannounced audit to ensure that supplier is fully complying, it's not falsifying any information regarding the environmental and social performance during the business. Okay, but now we can summarize that 5 major stages we need to ensure that procurement professionals are focusing on including the social and environmental aspect side by side to the technical and the legal and the commercial aspects in order to cover the very bottom line. But there is huge, vital, important questions remain aside. At what cost? Sustainability, yes, we are going to ensure, we are going to push, we are going to encourage, we are going to advise, we are going to even beg our supplier to fully comply to our sustainability requirement. But at what cost? For sure, hiring a supplier or awarding our business to a supplier who's fully committed to sustainability practices, either our company standards or national or international standards, this will have an impact on the price. For sure, the prices will be increased, and this is acceptable. We have two sides. The supplier, the first side, what the supplier should do to cover his extra cost to comply with our sustainability requirement. So the supplier have three ways to cover such kind of extra cost. The first one, the supplier have to absorb it as a business as usual. It's kind of the new normal, either or to increase the price and goods of service being delivered, and this will be subject to the competition. And in this case, supplier will take the decision to increase his prices in front of his competition. Or the third one is to absorb such kind of price inflation or cost inflation from part from his profit margin. Okay, so the three options are not that happy end for our discussion. The price will be the impact of ensuring sustainability on the supply chain price and cost will be increased for sure. Okay, but this is we cannot hide our problem. We cannot if we are going to if we need to ensure the sustainability, we need to pay the cost of it. Okay, from the other side, the procurement professional need to run some benchmarking and some cost modeling and some auditing in order to understand how much of this extra cost are really related to sustainability, in order to support the supplier compensating some of his not losses but some of his extra cost to cover or to comply with our and national and international sustainability requirement. Okay, so just again, Dr. Sara asked Engineer Sherif very brilliant question. What encourage the top management to follow such kind of hard track? We need to increase our prices. Supplier need to fully comply with extra mandatory legislations and instructions, and for sure the cost will be increased. Okay, for sure we will have a lot of advantages following this kind of sustainability practices and to encourage. But let me play it the other way around. Let me be some sort of mean or some sort of playing the role of devil advocate. What if we are not complying? We as a company or our supply chain partners. Unfortunately, we are going to suffer a lot. I tried to summarize it in 3 clear messages. What will be the consequences of not being responsible? First, we are going to lose some of our profit. We can be subject to boycotting from our customers who are now having increasing awareness of sustainability, and they can simply boycott our product because we are not sustainable enough. Second, and it's most important, we might have some adverse legal actions. Some companies may, unfortunately, some companies have a huge fines and huge bills for not being sustainable or not complying with international and national laws regarding the social and environmental issues. And we have a lot of shameful incidents in Asia, especially for the garments, in the outsourcing industries of the garments in Vietnam and in China regarding this this aspect. Third and most important one, you are going to put your reputation at stake. So being responsible is not an option anymore. Let me give you some update, Dr. Sara, from international market. The FRA, the Financial Regulatory Authority, which is regulating the financial sector in Egypt, it's a sovereign entity, mandating that every single company listed in Cairo Stock Exchange to start reporting their carbon footprint. From this year, I guess biannually, every single company listed in Cairo Stock Exchange need to declare its carbon footprint. And I'm guessing, or I'm expecting, by the second or third version of this report, they will start putting some targets on reducing your carbon footprint. In telecommunication industry, which is the field I came from, a lot of big players or big technology players start announcing their targets to be carbon neutral. For example, as a mobile operator or a service provider, I'm consuming a lot of electricity, a lot of power, and we are creating a lot of gas, a lot of pollution. So on the other side, I will try to invest in generating electricity from renewable clean sources like solar or wind, and by this I will try to compensate my consumption from fossil fuel by generating the equal amount from green energy sources. So what's called the carbon neutrality targets by the major telecommunication players. Okay, so coming to reaching my last part of this today's a short discussion regarding how to be responsible procurement. What are the steps to apply or being successful in applying sustainable procurement? First of all, we need to adopt. We need to change our procurement policy. We need to revisit our internal governance system to ensure that sustainability is one of our key concerns, along with other aspects of fraud, of corruption, of economic profit, of other aspects of corporate governance. We need to change our internal corporate governance to ensure that environmental and social aspects have been included in our policy and the procedures. Second, we need to start challenging the status quo. We need to start trigger the culture change. We need to modify our culture to accept that being responsive is not an option anymore. We can try to convince them by showing them the negative consequences of not being responsible. We can show them that we are fully, we need to show our full compliance and adherence to our international and national laws. So we need to trigger that kind of internal cultural change. Third one, we need to publish, we need to encourage, we need to be a change agent in our industries. We need to publish our sustainable procurement policy as a clear commitment to action. We need to inform our partners, our existing and potential partners in supply chain that we are advising them to follow our way to being sustainable. Fourth, we need to, and this is the most important part, we need to start immediate dialogue with the supplier. We need to start thinking, we need to start encouraging our supplier to follow our path. We need to start exploring a new way to compensate that kind of extra cost that supplier will be paying to be sustainable or to follow our sustainable practices. So the supplier is our integral part of the supply chain. We need to convince, encourage, develop, support, whatever action we can do the supplier, we need to start immediately. Okay. Finally, just as a takeaway messages, in order to be responsible procurement, your role is crucial. Your support is very, very vital. First, develop and embedding clear social and environmental standards throughout your supply chain practices, starting from planning till destruction or disposal. Second, we need to support, educate, encourage, develop, support your supplier and to come on your journey. Third, you need to help, you need to develop, you need to invest in your supplier to build their capabilities to meet your company's goals and objectives to be sustainable organizations. That's it for this short discussion regarding being responsible procurement. I was very thrilled to be here among you, and I'm very happy to answer your questions if you have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hossam, for your presentation. I actually have a question for you. Now, if we take a look at the Egyptian suppliers, and as we know that there are many industries for which we do have a lot of potentials of becoming suppliers to companies abroad. So how would you rate the level of sustainability in Egyptian suppliers? How advanced are we? In different sectors, I wouldn't be specific to specific sectors.
Yes, it heavily depends on the sector, because the supplier maturity of understanding the international customer requirement is different from sector to another sector. In some sectors, the suppliers already understand that it's not an optional to follow the sustainability requirement, because their potential customer mandated, like what I have advising during my presentation, that as a procurement, we need to ensure that our specifications, our pre-qualification mandate the sustainability aspect. So our Egyptian supplier in some industries or some sectors fully understand that their potential supplier are mandating being responsible. So they start adopting such kind of sustainability practices in the social and environmental aspect. So to answer your question, it depends on the industry. In some industries like technology, for example, like oil and gas, they are fully capable to start or to just plug and play with their customers' requirement. But in other sectors, still the maturity is not that up to our expectation.
Okay. So, and in your opinion, how many years we would take to be engaged and to be up to the level compared with other countries to be sustainable, or to have ways of sustainable suppliers in Egypt?
Okay, look, before March, I would answer your question by that around 5 to 10 years. But after March, and after I see personally the instructions from FRA, the Financial Regulatory Authority, to start mandating the carbon footprint reporting from all the companies regarding its private or public. Okay, now I'm convinced that it will be much faster than before. because
Okay.
now يعني regulatories and our يعني our state agency or authorities are start mandating and pushing a lot in such kind of carbon neutrality. And يعني for example in Egypt will be hosting COP27, which يعني show the huge support from the highest level in the country to the sustainability aspects.
Yes, yes. So, and to conclude, I know because you have the professional and the expertise from the business sector, and you do have the academic backgrounds since you teach in some of our programs. Tell me about the role of education. How can we help suppliers to go green? What would be our role as educational bodies? How can we do that?
Yes, our role is very crucial. As I just shown in my presentation, the second action is to start changing the culture. We need to be the culture, the change agent, or the culture change catalyst, starting from our classrooms. We need to invest our time and effort to check the status quo of our students, our postgrad and our grad student minds, that they need to accept that it's not about profit only. Profit is important, very, very crucial, but profit without emphasizing on the social and environment aspect, we are killing ourselves. We are killing our future. We are destroying our future. So we need to invest huge time and money, huge time and effort during our lectures, especially with undergraduate and postgrad programs, to try to change their mindsets to accept the concept of we need to compensate. We need to pay more in order to be sustainable.
Yes.
So we are playing a very crucial role.
Yes, and actually one of the key certificates that the ISCEA offers is on sustainability. And I believe that in the coming period, it would have very great importance in Egypt, as more people would be very interested to cope with the practices and the key points on how to engage more in the sustainability issue. So thank you very much, Dr. Hossam, for your time today.
Thank you, Hossam. Thank you.
And our next presenter is Mr. Moustapha. He's the Senior Supply Chain Engineer at Shift EV, and he will talk to us today about last mile logistics.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sara. Is my screen clear now?
Yes.
Okay, today we will be talking about the supply chain sustainability in the last mile logistics. Our agenda will be as following. We will first have a quick overview about the factors influencing the last mile logistics business. Next, we will talk about the last mile business in Egypt. And last, we will speak about the fleet electrification and how it affects the supply chain sustainability. Firstly, speaking about the factors influencing the last mile business, we have two main factors, which are the overall economy status and the status of e-commerce business. When looking at the economy status in Egypt and its future, we can see that it's expecting to flourish in the coming years with an expected increase in the GDP value of 52% in 2026 when compared to 2021, with an expected growth rate of 5.8 in 2026 compared to 5.2 in the last year. The other factor, as we said, is the status of the e-commerce sales, which is by looking at the actual amount of transactions performed in the last 2 years, we can see that the sales value almost doubled between 2020 and 2021, moving from 2.17 billion USD in 2020 to 4.34 billion USD in 2021. This is for the historical or actual sales that actually happened, while the future of e-commerce is also expected to flourish in terms of number of users and the revenue generated per user. As we can see here, according to Statista, there will be an expected increase in the number of e-commerce users with a 51% increase by 2025. To have almost about 73 million users compared to current 48.5 million users. While the number of users increasing, also the average revenue per user is expected also to increase with an expected increase of 49%. With 49%, making almost 158 USD per user per year in 2025 compared to a current 106 USD per user. These two factors or these three factors are giving a triple push for the last mile business, as the welfare of the Egyptians is expected to increase alongside the number of users and the revenue generated per user, which makes the future of the last mile business very optimistic, as it is the arm to deliver the orders. Moving then to the last mile business in Egypt, the past years have introduced some numerous last mile delivery companies. Either they have been operating a long time ago as Aramex, DHL, and Q Express, but the role was not that clear as today, or some new market entries as Bosta, Milers, and Revo, or other companies that are performing their last mile operations by themselves or through individual contractors. The last mile business is of these companies is either through a delivery hub with a small space warehouse in urban locations in order to deliver or to fulfill the customer orders door to door, or through a delivery fleet, or both of them combined. With focusing on the delivery fleet, the CapMass made some statistic figures showing that in 2020 there were 1.3 million registers in Egypt, with only 7% accounted for trailers and the 93% other means of transport, divided into three categories. As you can see here, they are divided into two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers. Of course, the bicycles here in the two-wheelers are not registered as commercial vehicles, but it's beginning to take a major part in the commercial or in the last mile business. We have the motorcycles as two-wheelers for larger distances. We have the three-wheelers, mainly the tricycle, either it's an open-top tricycle or a closed tricycle. And the same goes for the four-wheelers, either it's a van with also, either it's open-top or closed. And the same goes for pickup, open or closed. That's why when we look for these vehicles, except of course the bicycle, it's operating for 25 days by working almost 6 days per week, and making almost about 200 kilometers per day, and they are producing by ranging from 0.1 to 0.1 kilogram of CO2 emissions per kilometer. That's for one vehicle, of course, depending on the type of vehicle and its status and the condition of maintenance and so on. If we multiply this over the whole year, we can see that one vehicle is operating for almost 300 days and makes about 60,000 kilometers and produces about 18,000 kilograms of CO2 emissions, or what makes it 18 tons per year of CO2 emissions. While considering the statistics of CapMass, we can find that we are producing in Egypt here in 2020 about 21.6 million tons of CO2, considering the 1.2 million commercial vehicles registered in CapMass. Of course, these figures or this huge amount of CO2 emissions made the world go through the fleet electrification. Looking at the fleet electrification, it can fulfill the needs of sustainability in the three pillars of sustainability, such as the economic pillar, as it gives a lower operational cost through maintenance or savings from the fuel cost and so on. And it gives almost from 3 to 4 times more efficient energy conversion to compared to the internal combustion vehicles. And for the other pillar, the environmental impact, it gives a zero emissions or zero carbon emissions for the vehicles, while for the last pillar, the social, it gives a higher safety factor for the drivers and lower noises for the urban, as these vehicles are mainly operating in high populated areas, while it gives the corporate social responsibility edge, as mentioned by Dr. Hossam, that each company has its own responsibility and its own responsibility according to the social environment. That's why we have different types of electrification or different ways to go for electrifying our fleets. It's either you buy a new electric vehicle or you go for retrofitting. If we choose to buy a new electric vehicle, it will give us or it will make us pay a higher initial cost in terms of that it's still a new technology, not we require to buy a new vehicle from scratch and so on. And of course, it will take a long time delivery or a long delivery time. Since we are still placing an order and waiting for the parts to be procured and assembled and to be delivered to the customer. And of course, we are not speaking here about a personal use vehicle, so we can produce one vehicle and that's it. But also we are ordering a batch number of vehicles, as we are running a commercial fleet of almost about 100 or 200 vehicles operating at the same time. And the final thing is that it is not a non-customized vehicle. Either the supplier will be providing a vehicle, he has his own specs and his own modular size and specification that he is producing about it. That's why a retrofitting is considered a better option than buying a new electric vehicle. Retrofitting is about converting an internal combustion vehicle into an electric vehicle while utilizing the existing chassis. So we here excluded or eliminated the initial cost or the cost of buying a new vehicle or a new chassis, a new equipment as itself. Also, the retrofitting here, since we have all the components of or almost all the components of a vehicle, so it requires some few hours in the conversion in order to convert the internal combustion vehicle into electric vehicle, and it is also customizable. So I can make every car with a specific mileage and specific requirements to endure a specific ways or categories of buying, so I don't have to be to stick to the supplier's non-customized specs. This is why we here in Shift EV, our mission is to electrify fleets in the emerging markets. Our sustainable plan is that we are electrofitting vehicles. We are not working as on buying new vehicles, but we already receive the actual vehicles that the customer here possess, and we support with charging points in order to to help the customer charge its fleet during the night, while providing some fleet monitoring software, which we call here shiftware, in order to monitor the vehicle performance, the mileage, the amount of energy consumption, and the weight loaded, and so on, while offering also a maintenance service for the EV, and giving him an onboarding and training to the customer. We are also working with a subscription model. This subscription model requires no upfront cost, so we provide customers some savings from day one, with no break-even point that the customer will require to cover in order to start making profit, which gives him a guaranteed savings over the current operating cost. As we mentioned, it's more efficient in energy-wise and low operation cost in terms of maintenance and fuel consumption. While our values is to reduce the carbon footprint globally or in the emerging markets, as not all the vehicles are being maintained periodically, with offering this reduction with zero capex. As we mentioned, we are not requiring any upfront costs. Just the customer brings his own fleet, and we are starting the conversion, or we convert the vehicles, and also, of course, a significant reduction in the operational cost with no maintenance, as the way a vehicle is operating while its internal combustion requires multiple cost in terms of maintenance, and either it's proactive or reactive maintenance. And also we are providing a chassis second life. Instead of getting rid or depreciating an old asset or an old vehicle, we can revive it through electrofitting. That's it from my side. I was so happy with participating in this speech. If you have any question, I'll be glad to hear.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chady, for your presentation. And I think the services offered by your company actually answers one of the biggest challenges that was raised by the previous presenters, and that is cost. So pretty much what you do would help companies to engage more in sustainable practices, and would definitely help them to support in lowering down their carbon footprints. So let me ask you a question. Let's say the base or your clients, mainly, the majority belong to which industry or which business sector?
Actually, we are not targeting a specific industry. We are not a last mile agent looking for electrifying fleets. So we are working as enablers for this service. Any company that has any fleet, either it's last mile or not last mile, just providing any transportation service at any kind of industries, can electrify its fleet.
Okay, and you can say that, how would you rate the demand for such services in the Egyptian market?
Currently, it's not that big deal, but we are already emerging in the market. We are providing the benefits. As we said, the fear in the beginning is that we need to invest a lot in this conversion. So that's why we are running with this subscription model, in order to attract some new customers. When they sense or feel the reduction that occurs during the operations with no investment and so on, they begin to rely on us and provide us with more fleets to convert.
That's very good. Well, I wish you all the best of luck in the Egyptian market.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having you, for being with us today.
Thank you, Doctor.
And now it's time for my presentation. I will be the last presenter for this session. Okay. So my presentation today that would conclude the session would be on a project that is funded by the European Union and for which the Academy is a part of the consortium. The presentation is on the Mayataka project, opportunities for SMEs in the renewable energy. For short, what does Mayataka project stands for? It stands for mobilizing new areas for investments and together aiming to increase quality of life for all. The project funded by the European Union and the total budget for this project is 3.1 million euro. And the partners are from the Mediterranean countries that include Greece, Egypt, Italy, Jordan, Lebanon, and Spain. The project aim is very simple, as we have seen in many or in the southern Mediterranean that there is an increasing need for more resource efficiency, that we can rely on the businesses to use more renewable energy, to be engaged more in sustainability. It was noticed that we still do not have enough supply of such services. So the project aims at increasing awareness on how to have more sustainable services available. And that is through setting up the demonstrators in 3 Mediterranean pilot areas, and that is in Egypt, in Jordan, and in Lebanon, where the innovative services will be applied. What kind of innovative services are we focusing on? We are focusing on the microgrids, on the photovoltaics, the energy storage, solar thermal technologies, and water sanitation and purification. Actually, the project is composed of many phases to ensure that we have the entire cycle together. The first, we focus actually on the capacity building program, because through the different studies, it was very clear that there is a lack of skills, either from the sides of the energy providers or from the customers that receives the service. So we wanted to see how to develop these skills through different programs. There will be an establishment of an innovation desk, and that's maybe the main highlights of my presentation today. And that was due to the lack of information, because also through the different research and studies, we have seen that people don't have enough access to information on resource efficiency services. Also, it focuses on guidelines. What are the regulations available in each country that would direct the users and the suppliers on the use of this kind of services? Vouchers, and that is for the lack of finance. As we have seen from our presenters today, that to be green and to be more sustainable, it requires a lot of funds. So through the project, we also offer a voucher program through which we can finance the development of some of these services. And also will develop targeted business-to-business event for the lack of specific matchmaking. So we do have some businesses that wants to go green, but they don't know who are the service providers. So we get to organize different events to have this matchmaking available. So who are the beneficiaries of the Mayataka project? The main final beneficiaries are the SMEs, especially those from the environment, the utility, the building sector, that can have a set of supporting instruments to overcome the existing barriers and reduce the risk to innovation. The target of many countries is to engage the small, medium enterprises into the sustainability path or journey. So these are the main beneficiaries for the Mayataka project. Also, we will have the establishment of the Innovation One-Stop Shop, or we call it for short the IOSS. And through this, we will be offering the innovation support services to create or enabling the environment for the development of the resource efficiency sector in the southern Mediterranean countries. So the IOSS would target the SMEs, the ones that that I just mentioned, that would help them to overcome the different barriers. So this will be set in the 3 different target countries, and that is in Egypt, in Jordan, and in Lebanon. For Egypt, we have the IOSS would be jointly managed by the Arab Academy for Science and Technology, AAST, and SCEA. What will happen is that there will be some financial incentives, or we can call them sub-grants, that will support the purchase of innovation services by the local SMEs, so we can introduce innovation in the field of resource efficiency. The fund that we have available for the SMEs is 60,000 euros, and it's estimated that we can support a minimum of 3 SMEs. So what we try to do is to access as much SMEs as possible through the coming period, to have them apply to, they can utilize the grants available through this project. So the steps, or how can the interested SMEs get the services that IOSS offer. The first off, that we will be launching the vouchers open call very soon. That is through the Arab Academy's website, and I will give you the URL at the end of today's presentation. There will be a list of criteria for which the applicants should comply with. And then there will be a selection of the SMEs that will get the services through the IOSS. So the SMEs would determine what kind of resource efficiency services they would like to implement in their companies. And they will get assistance by consultants in the field of sustainable services. And through these consultants, we will have like a complete research request. And then we will go through a tender for the innovation services, so that you can get access to the best suppliers to the services that you are looking for. And then we will select the providers and get the services implemented in your business. So the website for which you can follow up the different information for the call or the project is the one on the screen. And I would highly advise that anyone interested in applying, please spread the word. It's a very excellent opportunity that you can get access to high services within the sustainability area that could benefit your company and get your first steps on the sustainability journey, as we were talking today. So thank you very much. That was my very quick presentation for today. I hope that it was informative and could be of good help and assistance for those who are interested to engage on the sustainability journey. If anyone would like to ask any questions, I'm sure through these 2 hours we have gone through different phases of the supply chain. We've talked about procurement, sustainable procurement. We've talked about the sustainable supply chain practices. We've talked about transportation, either in ports, the sustainable ports, or the last mile logistics. And from my side, I talked about the provision of the resource efficiency services that could help different companies to be engaged more or be involved in the sustainability practices. I think to wrap up this session, I would say that we, through the Egyptian market and the Egyptian experience, we are getting ahead. We are starting, maybe we can say that we are a little bit late if we compare ourselves with other countries, either in the region or with countries like the US or Europe, but we are getting there. And I hope that we would benefit from the best practices that were proven successful in other countries, and that we will have more success stories to come in the coming years.